where we're going. And then I will share our big map. All right, everybody see the map?
Oh boy!
Great. Good old Rayuna. So our troop has returned from adventures in the Highlands, and some kind of drama went down in the village itself. A quick recap being that the installed kind of magistrate from the Corkane, known as the Word Giver, wanted a cut of the spoils of your adventures in the wild, and Paiviki actually successfully convinced him that he didn't. I can't remember the specifics, but Paiviki basically talked him out of it. But then let's see if I got a picture of these other guys. So here's our gang. Our main characters now are Paiviki the Great. The villagers are calling Paiviki the Great, Taimi the Hunter, and Muirin the Wanderer. There's some NPCs, and there's the word keepers who showed up in town at a very inopportune moment and kind of forced some plans to get thrown out the window. But luckily, through quick thinking, Muirin the elf managed to hold on to a stockpile of books that had been retrieved from the Beast's Cave. And I mean, I think the only thing you ended up giving to the Word Giver was one of those topaz gems, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everything else you've held on to, but one thing that did go missing was the silver bracelet that Paiviki had obtained and had hidden in the house where she lives, has disappeared. So we don't know where that is. Oh yeah, the other thing we learned is that Taimi has a friend, Annika. I think Taimi has more than one friend on occasion. Yeah. But this is Annika, who we met last time around. And then here is Tinny Treekeeper, who takes care of the old tree and is one of the respected elders in town. So back to the top of the map here. I wanted to just let anybody watching know that this is a sandbox campaign, which is to say that the players can go, the PCs can go anywhere they choose to go and do anything they choose to do. You guys can set your own goals and pursue them, and my job is to figure out how the world responds to that. So the world was partially created from your input at the beginning, and then any part that I've created has basically been generated using random die rolls that I try to pull together into some kind of cohesive sense. So you can kind of strike off and do anything you want, but in between sessions, I've asked you what you might want to do so that I can try to prep towards that goal. And the big thing that people had talked about was going to the village of Saltwall, which is about 4 days to the south, down here, off in unexplored territory, at least for people from your village. So that was one possible goal. And then it was also mentioned that trying to locate this place called the Misty Tooth, which you found drawn on an old map, might be another possible goal. But then, in the midst of everything that went down last session, other questions were raised, like what are the villagers going to do about this apparently oppressive militant force that has arrived? If anything, and what role would the PCs have in that? So that's a conversation that was started off screen, and I guess we will dig back into things right now, asking, I'm just going to ask Paiviki, what are Paiviki's thoughts, or what's Paiviki going to do to kind of get this conversation started?
I think that after what went down with sort of the humiliating checking through of our personal belongings, that Paiviki would get together with Taimi and Muirin and try to figure out what they should do. And she's had her her personal sense of kind of ownership of the town totally challenged by this guy coming in and suddenly saying he's going to assert power and actually asserting it over us and shoving us around and stuff like that. And so she's pissed, and she's wondering if the other two are feeling the same way. Like, first there's this monster who comes into town and he takes all of our stuff, and we risk our lives going after it, and now here's the word giver coming, telling us what we can and can't do, and I'm afraid for what he's going to do to the people in this village after what he did to Sinelma's wife. Who knows what else he's capable of.
Just a confirmation question. There's only 3 word keepers, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only 3 of them, but they're pretty intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're like decked out with like this. They've got just sweet loot, equipment.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, has it been made clear in? I assume that we're like a day or two after the whole like hiding of the loot debacle.
Yeah, it's basically the next day.
Has it been made clear what the intentions of the word keepers are? Are they going to be extracting taxes from us at an increased rate? Because they were called here to defend us from the beast, and yeah, they got here late. But like, I have yet to. Well, what is the bad thing that they're doing?
There's no inkling of anything bad beyond them just being a kind of armed presence. They don't appear, as far as you know so far, there does not appear to be kind of any active badness happening.
Okay.
They were, like you said, they were sort of brought out as a response to the beast, but now that problem's been solved and they're here, they're basically acting as Elmary's, police force.
Yeah. Elmary, if anything, we tried to cheat Elmary. We did cheat Elmary.
Yeah.
Like, Elmary didn't try to cheat us. Elmary gave us weapons in exchange for something, and like we agreed on something, and maybe he gutted us a little bit. And maybe it wasn't like very morally ethical the way that he set up the bargain, but like we were the ones that tried to weasel out of it. And we could have waited. I dread to think what would have happened if we had waited the couple of days for the word bringers to get here, or word keepers to get there. I guess, what's the name of the village in between us and the capital?
Hukunut.
Hukunut. Do we have an idea of what a word keeper presence means there?
Let me think now. Muirin certainly does. Well, actually, no, Muirin hasn't been to Hukunut, right? We figured out last time that you came from the kind of northwest, right?
Yeah. I was going south.
Well, you guys have had enough. There's been enough trade. You have your own little marketplace down by the river there, and people from Hukunut do come to trade, and a fair amount of information is exchanged. And one thing you do know is a tragic part of Hukunut's history, which is when the Korkane kind of started to. I guess you could call it an invasion. They landed and they started to kind of take over territory, and there was resistance from the local people, and Hukunut was a holdout settlement, and there was a big battle where the Korkane were actually repelled, but then they went upstream of the river. Let's see, you can see there's a little river that runs by, the Blue River runs by Hukunut right there, and the Korkane went upriver, and they Hukunut's on like a little floodplain. It's a very fertile area, and the the Corcane destroyed the dam upriver and flooded the whole town, and basically drowned, a lot of the villagers, and that's how they were basically able to defeat this last pocket of resistance. So a lot of people, everybody knows that story about what happened there. In fact, Hukunut is its new name, and Hukunut means drowned. That's the name of the village. But what an interesting kind of after effect of that is, it's basically still there. They rebuilt, or they elevated a lot of their structures onto stilts. So it's a stilt village, and basically like a flooded area, a wetland, and everybody gets around in little boats and coracles and rafts. And as a result of that, and the fact that it was a holdout, the Corcane actually steer clear of it. Because to get in there is difficult. You have to do it on, by watercraft. So a deal was struck by the leader of the town. The Corcane don't set foot in Hukunut, so no word keepers are allowed to go there. And in return, every season, the town basically makes tithes to the Corcane. But the trade-off there is that it's also kind of den of iniquity. It's kind of known for its crime.
There's a very narratively satisfying parallel between them having to dole out food to some sort of militia entity, like a beast almost,
Yeah. Does that answer your question? You were wondering what the presence of the word keeper?
Yeah. I just I think it's difficult because I don't think Taimi is maybe complex enough to think things through. She's been slighted by El Mary, so she just hates El Mary's guts, and the word keepers are an extension of that. But I guess he behind the scenes wanted to kind of get a better understanding of what were they doing to earn it otherwise. So sorry for the diversion.
No, that's fine. What could you remind me of Taimi's revised traits after last time, or is it still curious and cheater, or did you end up changing some of them?
No, we added one. Irritable. And definitely the treatment that they received at the hands of the word keepers was enough to raise her heckles.
Yeah. Okay.
Believe me, Paiviki, no one wants them here less than I. But you've seen the weapons they carried and the thick armor that covers their wretched hides. I don't think it would be so simple to just simply remove them.
Okay. Plan number 1. So Moirin goes and she brings a poison to the caretaker, and when the word keepers eat it, they fall asleep, and Moirin sneaks in and sabotages their weapons. And Paiviki, that's me, we go to the cave of the Isumat and make a deal. We say we'll give you goats and feed you, and in exchange you'll come and protect the village. And Taimi, you go and gather the villagers, and we chase them out of town. And when they try and fight back, their weapons don't work and they're sleeping, and we have the beast on our side. And it's perfect.
I imagine that poison of the non-sleeping variety would also achieve such ends.
But we want them to leave. We want them to run away, and we want them to tell tales of a terrible beast. So we don't want them to die. Okay, plan number 2. Plan number 2 is Moirin makes a poison that makes us appear to become terribly ill and die. But we don't die. But when the villagers carry us into the forest, we recover and we stay in the forest until the word givers and the word keepers are convinced that there's a plague caused by the sorcerer that we killed and that I killed. And they flee with their lives thinking there's a plague. And to seal their feelings, Yarko would come and vomit blood all over their town hall, and they would be afraid. And then there would be no reason for repercussions because there would be a plague, and you can't fight a plague. The only downside of the first plan is that they could still come back with an army.
You are making plan number 1 sound better of these 2 options.
Both plans hinge on the Kokirin. Am I saying that right?
Just say Corcane.
Corcane.
Yeah.
Both plans hinge on the Corcane never stepping foot in Rayuna ever again.
Right.
And because of the route that we live, that seems like a very far possibility. Eventually someone would come. All it would take is one messenger, one person who heard tell of the plague who sees otherwise.
Right.
And then news of our miraculous recovery would incite only further repercussions. Why not
The plague and the beast.
I will not deal with the beast. I will not deal with the coward that serves him.
I think that he's in town.
You believe Onikus is here.
Somebody ran off with my bracelet that I took from the sorcerer. And either it's one of my
One of your housemates.
one of my beer drinking housemates. I was trying to remember the name for that Veli. One of my Veli drinking housemates, which I doubt. Or somebody else knew that we had treasure. If it's not somebody in town,
Then
who would know that we had that?
I mean, what you're suggesting is not outside of Onikus's slimy mind. But if that bracelet gets found, I think the whole village is in big trouble. It'll prove that we broke our word. A fact that was only hidden by Muirin's amazingly quick thinking.
Yeah. I think one way or the other, we're either going to have to leave town or we're going to get busted pretty soon. Unless we go down to Saltwall and come back and say that we found all these things in Saltwall. But I wonder if El Mary is going to start taxing anything that we bring back, whether we have a deal or not. What do you think, Moirin? What should we do?
Oh, I think you're right. I think Almiri is as corrupt and cowardly as you say. And I suppose what I worry about is, as much as we want to, we're not in the right. We don't have what it takes to protect the town, but you might be onto something with the poisoning.
Thank you.
You would poison the ward keeper and the word bringer?
Well, something to weaken them, something to make them real sick so that they are at least incompetent while we're away. Although it's possible they wouldn't act so hostilely yet upon this town, but I suppose that's more unlikely. What do you think? Should we leave? Because we better find that bracelet and find out more about Saltwall.
I think we should find the bracelet, lest its presence come to light. I think that whoever reveals it will either incite repercussions onto us or perhaps the whole village.
I have an idea of how we can catch the thief.
Go on.
I go suspiciously to hide something in the woods near my house and go back to that spot. And if anyone, my housemates or Onikas or whoever has been snooping around stealing from me, sees me hiding something in the woods, they'll go back there at some point, probably at night. And Moirin, if you camp out and hide yourself well enough in a spot where you can observe them, you can catch the thief, because you'll be able to see them at night and they won't be able to see you. And if it's Onikas, you'll catch him the same way we caught him last time, and that will be so satisfying.
I would revel in the chance to catch him red-handed, though I know I know when prey is beaten and lost the chase. And when we left that cave, we left a truly broken person. Though someone who might seek revenge. So I don't I'm willing to give it a try however I could aid.
If it was him, he might be of use to us because nobody in town will suspect him. He could move around without people knowing. as well.
As long as nobody actually saw him, right? Because he's a Pico, so he does stand out if people.
Yeah. No, I mean at nighttime.
Okay.
Um,
Sure.
he could probably come and go without being observed.
Right.
And we would have an alibi. We could be somewhere while he's doing something for us. But that's all in theory. Let's catch whoever this is first.
Okay.
I suspect
What?
maybe we can spend a few days trying to read some of those books and journals. And while we're doing that, we can see if we can catch this thief.
Okay. Does that sound like a? When you're in a settlement, you can pass time, and while you're passing time, you can recover from injury. You can work a job, train, research something, which would be reading those books would count as that. You can craft something if you have the necessary skills, or anything else you could do, that you choose to do. So part of what you're trying to do is lay this trap. Is that what the plan is?
Would you want to do that, Moirin?
Yes. And then I'll hide strategically and stealthily.
Yeah. So I would set out during the daytime and try to hide a suspicious-looking small box.
I mean, I would make a big like theater show of it. Leaving your house with the box, like, oh.
Absolutely. I would leave when my housemates were watching me too.
Okay. So that's usually, during the day they're either off felling trees or trimming or create, getting lumber made, or they're out, they're building or fixing something.
Yeah.
So maybe at like a midday meal break, or more in morning before everybody else is. Maybe you wait until everybody's awake, and then you kind of obviously sneak off.
Yeah.
When would you like to do it? What time of day would you like to do it?
Yeah, when they're back for eating their midday meal.
Okay.
And I would be eating with them, and then sort of look around. Do I have any suspicions of my housemates? Do any of them have any obvious shiftiness?
Well, let me tell you about your housemates and what you know about them. You have 3. There's Osmo, who's one of the oldest people in the village. He's pushing 60 probably. Lately, he's been acting a little odd. He's taken to wearing a kind of fine blue robe during woodcutting, right? Generally, you guys wear very workaday clothing, and for some reason, starting around midwinter, Osmo took to wearing this kind of fine blue robe that his wife had made for him. His wife has passed away some time ago. There's Emil, who is a great bear of a man, among the strongest in the village. He smells strongly. He carries like a cloud of pine resin with him wherever he goes. Just smells like pine trees. And he was originally from La Devesi, which is that mountain village off to the west there. But he was exiled. Word has it that he stole honeycomb from the village chief's beehives.
Oh.
And he was exiled from town for that. He also plays the drum and is married to a woman named Hilla. And then the last person you live with is Sinika, who is actually Annika's twin sister. And so Sinika's about 19. She's got a big appetite, freckle face, and boisterous. She's still an apprentice. In fact, Paiviki has actually trained Sinika in the art of woodcutting and carpentry. And she is probably the hardest working of the woodworkers who live there, even including the great Paiviki. But she's pretty clumsy, and she, which sometimes is a liability. She has a big scar on her leg from where she struck herself with a hatchet. Back in the fall when she was cutting up some deadfall. The hatchet kind of bounced and cut her in the leg, and she's recovered now. But it was a pretty bad gash, and owing to her clumsiness.
Oh wow!
So that's Osmo, Emil, and Sinika.
Emo?
Emil, Eemil.
I almost thought that was like a rooster crowing. Very started.
It was a rooster crowing.
Good timing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maggie. Maggie?
Max.
Max.
Yeah, so Sinika looks just like Annika here, only her hair is cut about half as long. So she's got short cropped hair.
Do any of them have anything against me?
Does Paiviki have that kind of self-consciousness? Like, does she think about she definitely thinks about what other people think of her. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, Osmo, he's gotten to the point where you can't really figure him out. He's maybe getting a little, I don't know how the villagers talk about senility and what happens sometimes when people get old, but he's just doesn't seem to be all there. So it's hard for you could imagine him harboring some kind of grudge against you, but it would be the grudge of it would almost feel like a childlike grudge.
Yeah.
Emil just seems like a big, sweet bear of a guy. The worst thing that ever happens to him is sometimes he eats too much and falls asleep in his goat stew. He's one of the guys who at the big festival, the big party you guys had around the old tree, he was drink like a cask of the grog, the beet grog.
Mm-hmm.
And Sinika, Paiviki has worked with her for a while. I mean, I guess the only thing about Emil that you wonder is that he apparently was exiled for stealing honeycomb.
Right.
And Sinika, she always gives you her extra, she has a big appetite, but there was a time when you guys were out of steamed barley, and you came in from working in the woods, and the place was totally the cupboard was bare, so to speak, and Sinika had the last bowl of basically barley porridge, and realized that you were starving, hungry. You didn't say anything about it, and you sort of sat down and kind of exhausted, with an exhausted sigh, and then she kind of wordlessly kind of put this bowl of porridge down in front of you and left. So you think of her as a kind of kind, generous person.
Right. Well, you never know with people, but it doesn't sound like a bunch of thieves. I wonder how else to attract any curiosity from anybody outside of these three. How could I lure the thief? How about Paiviki and Taini do some suspicious handing off of stuff?
Like in a more public place?
Yeah. Can you pretend Paiviki, Taini, maybe we, maybe somebody came to our house after the party or while we were at the party.
I'm cautious about appearing too suspicious in the eyes of the word keepers. I think there's a line where, like, if they follow us and they try to find what we hid, we're gonna be further behind. So I am willing to do it, but only if there's not a word, only with no word keepers to see.
That's true. If we start making it look like we're hiding treasure, then the word keepers will think we're hiding treasure.
So I'm inclined to think that, like, what you did is, like, especially because I think the list of suspects is very, very short. Like, I think it was either not really stolen, but discovered and then just, like, taken as one's own. Or if no one's come up to you to say, like, hey, I hid this because I think you'd want to hide it from the word keepers. I would have hoped that would have been the answer, but so yeah, if you really push Tiny Me to, like, try to make a show of it or to hand you off something secret in public, she would do it.
I think that maybe Paiviki would just do some more suspicious kind of like stashing sort of around, like going to Mirren's house and then coming back to her house. So if there's anybody like Onikas or another villager who's watching, they would see it.
And the suspicious part being not just your movement, but that you've got some kind of bag or box that you're carrying around.
Yeah, and that I would be coming and going and, like, kind of looking over my shoulder a lot and stashing something in a particular place in the woods that's not too far from my house.
Like if we follow the path there from your house into the woods, to the just inside the tree line to the north of the path.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. So that anybody who sees us doing that would clearly notice that we were doing something strange or suspicious if they were wanting to steal more treasure. Because if all they got was that bracelet and they suspected that we got more stuff from our journey, that they might then go looking for it. That's the plan.
Yeah, okay.
And meanwhile,
yeah,
Moirin would be hanging out with some sandwiches and practicing her string tricks or something. So she doesn't have to move around a lot.
And like hiding and watching, right?
Yeah.
And Moirin, would you be hiding deep, like in the woods near the place where the object is hidden, or outside of the woods to watch whoever comes and goes, or some other place?
Oh, I mean, I probably need to have a good line of sight to it. Is the hiding place placed near a tree? Could I be like...
You can be wherever you want it to be, yeah, sure. Like it's going to be in the woods, so there's plenty of cover.
Okay. I imagine myself hiding in a tree branch.
Oh, like up in the trees. Okay, great.
Right.
Like hiding up in a tree. Great. Okay, keep watching, keeping an eye out. Okay. Huh. So trying to draw enough attention. I guess we need to see if your plan actually gets the attention. If there is a thief whose attention could be gotten, I guess we need to see if that works. So, and this is depending essentially on. Let me think. I think it's going to be a luck roll. I think it's a great plan. I think there's a chance that it just comes down to that. So I guess Paiviki, if you're the one who's trying to attract attention, make a luck roll.
So did everybody give themselves a point of luck if they had burned one earlier?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, because you leveled up to level 1.
Okay, I did too. But I'm still down 1 since I spent a point of luck during the game before, so I don't have a +1.
Oh, okay.
I only have a 0.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess if everybody's I'll let anybody all three of you are participating in the plan, so I'll let anybody roll who wants to. If anybody has a better modifier than that, is everybody at 0?
No, I've got +2.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Well,
I have a very,
involved.
very good luck.
Yeah, roll it.
Phew. Okay, that's a 7.
7 with the +2.
Yes. It was
Okay.
+2.
So when you hope things will go your way, roll luck. Things do go your way, but there's a trade-off of the judge's choosing. So I'm going to mark a thread. Okay, so the next night, all that happens, and Mirren is up in a tree, looking down. There's like a little clearing. There's a, like a rotten tree stump. This time of year, like there's little wildflowers are coming up all over the place. And this little, is it a little wooden box? Is that what you decided?
Yeah.
And is there actually anything in the box, or is it an empty box?
Oh, good question. I guess I could put a couple pieces of that, the Visaya, the obsidian.
Okay, sure.
In there.
Like,
I don't think any of us actually have any money. We haven't ever talked about money.
everything around here is basically by barter, except that is in your village. That is like essentially a coin worth
right.
The equivalent in the economy. It's the equivalent of a silver piece.
Right.
But yeah. So
do we have any?
Like, did you recover? You recovered some, I believe, from the cave, right?
Well, we got a bunch back, but I didn't know. We never really talked about how we redistributed it to the village.
Yeah. So for now, we'll just say you've held on to it, and it's nobody's the wiser at this point. Oh, okay. Unless
I thought that part of our big brouhaha party when we got back was to say that and we brought back all this stuff for you, and I would have just as assumed that we left it with a village elder to distribute.
Okay.
Because I assume somebody's kept track of what we paid.
Yeah.
Maybe, obviously not thinking we're going to get a refund from the monster, so we should know, but.
Right, but it was stolen from the village, so it should be returned to the village.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Sorry.
Yeah, I was imagining maybe giving it to Tine. What's her name? Tinny?
Yeah.
Tinny. And letting her figure out some fair system for.
Yeah, a proportion of whatever we got back is got to be some percentage of what was ultimately stolen. So you get 10 chips for every 10 or something.
Yeah. Okay, so then we'll say that as part of that, Tinny gave you each 10 pieces. So you can each take 10 chips or whatever you want to call them.
Silver.
Silver, yeah, or yeah. So Paviki, you want to put all 10 of them in this little box, or?
No, I think just 4.
Okay. All right. So there is let's see, the moon is waxing. It's about halfway. So there's it's a clear night. There's a fair amount of light, and plus Muirin can see essentially at night fairly well. And sometime after nightfall, a figure approaches the tree line and looks around. It sort of stops at the edge of the forest and looks this way and that, making sure that nobody sees it, and then kind of creeps in carefully, gingerly, and starts to search around in the area where Paviki had spent some time. And as they grow closer, Muirin recognizes them as it's old Osmo, the older housemate carpenter who has taken to wearing this blue robe, and he searches around and then finds the box because it's hidden but not hidden, obviously. It's not so hard to find, and then kind of lights upon it eagerly, picks it up, gives a look left and right, and then opens up the lid, and then looks a little disappointed, and then closes the lid and puts the box back where it was, and then heads out of the forest. And makes his way back home.
Okay, so I followed him back to make sure he just went home.
Okay, yeah, he goes. There's a kind of yard where the carpentry takes place, and he there's that way into the house, and then the way that faces the path, and he goes in through the yard entrance kind of quietly, so that nobody inside will hear him, and sort of disappears inside. Whereas Emil actually goes home to his wife Hilla, Osmo and Sinika and Paiviki all sleep in the wood house. And Paiviki, are you home in bed on your pallet?
Yeah, I'll be at home kind of waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, so
pretending to sleep.
What's that?
Pretending to sleep.
Osmo comes in, gets himself a ladle full of water from the water bucket, goes outside and pees, and then comes back inside and lies down on his pallet. So do you want to jump to the next morning, or do you want to wait until he's asleep and then get up and leave and talk to Muirin?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna let him drift off and then head outside.
Okay. And by the starlight, you see you don't see anything. I guess Muirin's probably hiding somewhere. And then I assume Muirin appears.
Are you there? Psst.
Yes. You saw who it was.
Was it him? Was it Osmo?
Mm-hmm. What do you think? Why would he steal from you?
I don't know. Maybe he's gone crazy.
Well,
he is a little. He has gotten a little funny.
do you know where he keeps his things? Could we look through his stuff secretly?
He keeps his stuff right near his bed where he sleeps. So at night it would be a little risky. During the day, if he goes out, wood cutting or whatever, then you'd probably do it.
I think maybe we just steal it back.
Right?
Maybe just what?
Just steal it back.
Oh. Okay.
Because if we don't.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
If we confront him, then we're admitting that we had something.
Well, who knows? Do we have any reason to fear him or?
He seems, harmless guy. Lost his wife maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Doesn't really cause trouble.
Maybe he just lost his senses. Maybe he won't even know. Maybe he won't remember. Is his memory bad?
His memory might be going a little bit now that you think about it. Nothing dramatic, but when you think back on conversations, sometimes he'll just trail off. He still seems to be a perfectly fine functioning member of the village, but maybe he seems a little distracted or
that blue robe really stands out.
Yeah, it does stand out.
Although, yeah, if we do steal it back, then we'd have to make sure that it didn't look like we stole it.
Oh, okay, great. Taimi's not there.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think, Maren? Maybe come back tomorrow when we're at work.
Sure. Yeah. I think stealing it back is the best way to, or creating as little not drama, but as little attention to this issue is ideal.
Yeah.
So wait till everybody's out working, and then we're sort of slip in, go through his stuff, and yoink the bracelet back.
Right.
Okay.
And those coins.
Oh, he didn't take the coins.
Oh. Huh.
He left them where he found them.
Oh.
So what you learned was that he was watching Paiviki and, went to see what Paiviki put in the woods. Okay, so next day, Taimi, let me know if there's anything you're up to in particular. Otherwise, we'll carry on with this.
I'm keeping track of the word keepers. I want to see if through what they're up to, like what if I can glean what their role in the town might be, or they perceive it to be.
Okay, great. So you're keeping an eye on them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, everybody, all the woodworkers head out after a big hearty breakfast at dawn. And once they've gone away, Muirin slips in to the house and rifles through Osmo's stuff. Very thiefy of you. Great. So let's make a luck roll.
That would be 0. And I can't add anything to that, I guess. Right?
That's right. Yeah, you can't even spend luck on it. It's just straight up chance. And this is just generally to see the situation.
Okay. Ooh. 6.
You got a 6.
Yeah, plus 0.
Huh. Okay. There's like a keepsake. There's like a little figure made of feathers and corded twine that reminds him of his wife. There is like a little leather pouch with some of the obsidian chips in it, and various other little items. And there's one little box, a little wooden box with a lock on it, a pretty simple iron lock. And your first thought is, oh, I'm going to have to bust open this box or figure out a way to get through this lock. But then you pull on the lock and it comes open. So it's unlocked. And you open the box and there's sawdust in the box, like wood shavings, I should say. And just wood shavings, but there's a faint circle impression in the wood shavings, as if the bracelet had been there.
Yeah.
So judging by you, so you've gone through all of this stuff, so it doesn't appear to be, and you give a quick look around the whole place, and there's no sign of the bracelet.
Okay. Shoot. Yeah, so I guess I'll just put everything back so that no one can tell I looked through it.
Okay. Yeah, so that's no problem, and you slip out, and nobody's the wiser. There's nobody around. I mean, there's like a goat chewing some grass, kind of staring at you blankly as you leave the building.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, nobody's around. Taimi, the word keepers spend most of their time hanging out at the Corchiatalo, occasionally talking to the word giver. They have a conversation with Yarko where they make it clear to him that he has no rank over them. They sort of want to set that record straight.
Yeah.
They follow the orders of the word giver, and so Yarko, basically the word giver tells Yarko that he's his job is essentially to be a kind of liaison between the word giver and the village elders. So that's Yarko's job. And then the word keepers, they spend their time there. They don't really wander around the village so much. They go down to the marketplace to see what's happening there and to the river. So between the bridge and the word giver's house is where they spend their time. They don't appear to be maintaining any kind of like regular patrol or even schedule. So yet they're just kind of around. So they're walking up and down. They're not even necessarily making a show of what they're doing, but they clearly take pleasure in their the fact that they're intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like shoving people around, but as they walk around, there's a little bit of a swagger, right? Like,
oh, sure.
They know what kind of a presence they are.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I keep my distance. My face is too well known to them for me to try to eavesdrop to see if they're just like shooting the shit, or whether. But they don't seem terribly official.
Yeah, Taimi's not too bright.
Yeah.
To really suss out more, but Yarko kind of figures that they were sent here to deal with the beast. The beast's not around. They're not going to go home, and they may end up being a permanent fixture, and it might just take a little time to sort out the protocol of what that means. So maybe they're just in kind of a transitional state right now.
Well, that's interesting. We'll put a pin in that until the next team meeting.
Okay. All right, so lunch break. The woodcutters return from the woods. I'm going to assume that Muirin passes along that information. Is that fair to say?
Yes, though am I able to sort of hang around stealthily so that I can sort of see what he's wearing, or
So you're observing. You're going to observe Ozma from a distance and see if you can suss anything else. Okay, great. Yeah, that's fine. You're finding answers. And that's either studying with intelligence or sensing or discerning wisdom.
I'll do wisdom. I'll sense it. Sure. Okay, so I got a 6 plus 2, 8.
Okay, all right. So you notice that his the cuffs on his sleeves. This robe is long sleeved, and the cuffs are cinched at the wrists, and they're a little. The sleeves are a little puffy. So there's a chance that you can imagine he might be wearing the bracelet, but you'd have to somehow you'd have to somehow pull the sleeve up to see, I guess. Like, I guess you're in the end, your assessment is it's very possible that he's wearing the bracelet right now, but you can't tell for sure because you don't see it. The cloth is thick enough where there's no impression of anything underneath it, and it's cinched up at the wrist, but a little baggy right here, so you can't tell if he's actually wearing it.
Yep.
And I'm going to say you sort of, you were kind of like walking, pretending to walk back towards your hut and closely observing him as he comes back out of the woods, and that's what you notice. And nobody notices that maybe you waved by Vicky or something, but nobody looks at you twice.
Cool. Sorry,
Can Paiviki make conversation with Osmo during the workday?
Yeah, sure.
And try to just kind of figure out what's going on with him, like just kind of be real chummy and ask a lot of questions and see how he's been and see if he seems crazy or suspicious and all.
Yeah, that's also find answers, and it sounds like you're using charisma.
Yeah.
Chumming him up.
So I rolled also a 6 plus 2.
Okay.
So an 8.
He kind of half-heartedly keeps up the conversation, nodding, and then, occasionally says things like, I'm going to go work on that deadfall over there or something. And, Paiviki tries to, like, not be too in his face, tries to, like, work it so it feels like a natural conversation. There's a point where you notice he spits on his hatchet head and wipes it with his hand, and he kind of looks at himself in the reflection of the steel. There's not a whole lot of steel in this town, but the hatchets that you guys use, each of you has one that's made out of steel, and he kind of looks at himself and kind of makes like tries to make sort of a handsome face at himself in the head of the hatchet. And then he slams the hatchet down in a stump, and then he doesn't think anybody's watching. I think he's actually, over somewhere else chopping something, and he does a little bow, and then he is mouthing some words. It's like he's talking to somebody, but he does this little kind of polite bow, and then carries on with his work.
Sounds like he's got delusions of grandeur.
And then he goes, but you guys are headed back out of the wood at the end of the day. And on your way back, he goes, he's kind of cackling about something, as if he just told himself a joke.
So I guess after work is when Murin and Viki get to talk to each other again.
Okay, sure.
Is that right? That'd be the next opportunity, I suppose.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so, what did you find?
Unfortunately, everything but the bracelet. Were you able to catch a glimpse of him wearing it, or
He could be wearing
hear him?
it. Hard to
Mhm.
say.
Right. Well, there was a box, and it looked like that's where he would keeping it. But
When I touched it before, it was very cold, colder than it should have been, and I wonder how that would be affecting his hand if he was wearing it.
perhaps, does he wear gloves while he's working?
No, all of the woodcutters have just calloused hands.
Yeah. He seems to have some sort of delusions of grandeur with his fancy blue cloak, and maybe he was looking at himself in the reflection of his axe, and I think he thinks that maybe if he is wearing the bracelet, it'll make him look more important. He seemed to be talking to somebody in his mind, anyway.
Disturbing.
Maybe we can waylay him in the woods.
Yes, I wonder if confrontation is the only way to get that back.
He won't know who did it if it's dark out.
Well,
You want to do another little job for me, Moira?
Wait, are you guys gonna mug him? Is that the next move?
he might have an idea who mugged him. Unless he truly is mad.
Well, if it was at nighttime, maybe he wouldn't know. If he is actually wearing it, I don't know how we're going to get it back.
So we'll say that this is a. Can we say this powwow that Taimi's part of it as well?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Carry on.
Anybody have any other suggestions?
No, I agree that confronting him under cover of night would give you the best chance to preserve your identities.
And we'll wear hooded hoods, maybe.
So you're talking about, just so I understand, you're not talking about clocking over the back of the head. You're talking about actually confronting him so that he can't tell who you are. But confronting him. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would just knock him over.
Oh.
And take the bracelet and run.
Yeah.
Although that might draw attention from the word keepers.
If it happens at the edge of the forest. I watched their patterns today, and they didn't go west of the Great House. They seem to have no patrol pattern, really no purpose. They looked over the dealings in the marketplace with the most passing of glances. I don't know if they would be rushing to the aid of someone whose bracelet got stolen. But he might if he's really, if not all the stones are knocking up around upstairs, he might fly into a frenzy once he comes to and reveal that it was your bracelet that he stole, lest he know where it came from. He might not be quite present enough to put two and two together that we return from the beast and this bracelet appears in the rafters of his house. I wonder why he checked up there.
Well, if he is on the lookout for fancy clothes and trying to make himself appear grander than he is, then maybe he was on the lookout for some sort of treasure when we returned. I'm just concerned that the person that he wants to impress is the word giver, and that would be a real problem for us. Hopefully it's just some lady in town that he's trying to look nice for. I wonder about telling him a story about a cursed bracelet that we're trying to find a safe place to destroy it or something like that. I'd have to come up with a really good story for that to work.
You don't literally have to come up with a story if you don't want to. It could just be, you describe the general outline of the story and then we roll some dice. Just so you know, you don't have to come up with it.
Yeah.
You're not required to.
No, I just don't want to create a story that would encourage him to run to the word giver.
Right.
Sure.
So the basic premise of it has to be one that wants him to keep it secret. Right. Paiviki is smarter than I am. I definitely don't have a 16 intelligence.
And I mean, with her charisma too, she's got to be a really great storyteller.
Yeah. What do you guys think? The story or the mugging?
I think we take it from him. And as long as we are careful with where we hide it after that, so that he cannot see its hiding place, he can complain to the word keepers all he wants, and they can research you up and down. But I don't think they're here to do that. I believe that they follow the orders of the word giver, but they were brought here because our people were taken by the beast. We did their job for them. But the beast still lives.
All right.
What if we sent them out there after the beast? Like every single gear that's ever existed is like the teeth are almost coming together.
Wait, isn't it just one gear?
It's one gear, and then there's like a square piece of wood that is like somehow rotating with it,
trying to find each other.
Yeah, so she's like thinking this out as she says it, and it's all in the. And I think the only reason she's able to get to it is because it's in the context of like a hunt, right? Like when there's a prey that you've been set upon, when you catch it, your work is done. But I suppose also if the prey overtakes you, your job is done as well. If they were to go out to the cave and find the beast gone, their task here would truly be gone. And then their true purpose might be revealed, whether they intend to stay in the village or not.
How would you get them to go to the beast?
Tell them about it. Tell them about the portion of the riches of the town that lie there still.
Okay. But I have a worse question for you. I wonder why the sorcerer was sending the beast to our village in the first place?
The beast.
Why would a sorcerer want money?
I don't believe the sorcerer did want money. I believe the sorcerer wanted people. The sorcerer was doing something foul in the room with the symbol on the floor. The books might reveal what he was after, but based on those notes, what you tell me of the notes and the names scratched out, the magician's mind must have dwelled on murder. Wasn't that something that Onikas told us, that like the beast wanted like goats and meat and stuff, and then shifted his attention to like shiny things?
Yes, that's right. It started off as just kind of food and drink, and then it did shift its attention to shiny things. That's right.
And we found none of our obsidian chips lower any further back in the cave than the beast's crudely fashioned bedroom.
Yes, that's correct.
So I don't believe the magician wanted money.
This is a retroactive thing, but in the magician's quarters, you found some like dirty dishes with a goat bone and a bottle of the red stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where I didn't mention that at the time, but there was evidence that he had been eating and drinking some of the stuff that was taken from the village.
Yeah.
But I do have to suspect Sinelma was one of the people that was captured, and Sinelma's wife was executed by our lawgiver, our word giver. So she, if anybody in this village, had reason to hate him. And it seems suspicious to me that she, along with another one of our elders, was the ones that were captured. Maybe I'm seeing our word giver as too much of a villain and smarter than he actually is credited for. But I wonder if there's some larger plot. I just don't understand why this beast was sent to our village, and it doesn't make sense.
The cage is in the cave. What's his name? Durbin. Durbin was looking after the prisoners that I can only assume the magician was going to either test or use his cruel magics on.
Okay. I'll stop thinking about it.
I believe you give Elmeri far too much credit. He is a coward and a fool. If he wanted the abductions to continue, he would have done something to stop us or misled us.
Okay. Here's what we do. Murin, you knock over Osmo in the dark and take the bracelet, and I'll come and rescue you. I'll come and rescue him.
Ooh.
So
what could go wrong?
Yeah, wait outside when he needs to go and pee before he goes to sleep. And when he starts to shout for help, we'll come and rescue him, and you can get away.
So it won't be too far from your home.
No, he always pees behind the big tree.
Yeah, otherwise you'd have to somehow lure him into the woods. But he does, his bladder is not what it used to be, so he does have to get up and go a couple times during the night.
Right.
The only problem is Sanika.
In my strength.
She's very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She is such a hard worker that she does sleep pretty soundly at night. You know that about her, but she is just as likely to respond to his cries for help as Paiviki, that's for sure.
Maybe Taini, you can block the door. And make sure that we can't get out for a long enough to give Murin a chance to get the bracelet.
And would be the idea would be for Murin to try to knock him out, or just to try to like steal it quickly?
Yeah, I would probably just knock him over. Don't hurt him.
Okay, knock him down.
And then take the bracelet.
Do you know if he is like if he drinks nightly, or if there's if he acts a certain way that it could be believable if we drugged him, that he just became more sluggish than usual?
He doesn't overindulge, but he's, he drinks as commonly as anybody else in the village, and occasional drunkenness is certainly something that it happens. So it wouldn't look too out of place if you.
Yeah, I think that I will offer my my bottle of Veli to my housemates.
Okay.
And tonight we'll have a little party.
Okay.
So we'll all be drunk.
Okay.
Especially.
So no extra toxins or anything. You're just trying to get him drunk on the good stuff so that he's a little woozy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't fight. Can't see straight.
And then Murin will be lurking outside in the shadows, waiting for the opportunity.
Right. And I imagine it would be like, it meant to be like a quicker type of strike. I'm not gonna be able to overpower with strength.
Just knock him down and grab the bracelet. Or do you have some other, does that make sense, or do you have some other plan you'd like to try to pull off? Like
no, I see myself doing this some kind of quick leap onto him and then grabbing.
Okay. And there's no reason Murin couldn't I see what you're saying about blocking the door. You're saying he leaves. After he leaves, Taimi blocks the door. Miran's already in position to jump him, right? Is that Paiviki's plan?
Yeah.
Taimi, are you down with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess the only downside is it might be easier to have two people.
Two people to knock him over.
Yeah. I'll just pretend that the door is being held.
Oh, so you'll. Well, I mean, it's close enough where Taimi could block the door and then assist Murin as well. He doesn't have to go that far from the house.
Sure.
And you could also fake the door, if you manage to get to it first. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That night, you drink some of the good stuff. Did you have a bottle of that on your?
I do.
Okay, great.
I brought it to the cave with us, but we never used it. And
Sunika, I assume you wait till Emil goes home to his wife, right? You don't want extra bodies in the room, right?
No.
Well, Sunika is totally into it. Osmo's a little reluctant, but it's the good stuff, and you're drinking out of these special carved wooden cups. These special cups that only come out for this purpose. When people are drinking the top shelf stuff, the top edge is painted with there's like a gold paint that's painted around the top of these things, and everybody has a good old time. There's a point where Osmo is laughing. And he has like a hacking fit for a good 3 minutes. And you have to like smack him on the back until he takes out of it. And he kind of is nervously, occasionally, you notice him nervously adjusting the cuff on his left sleeve. And then everybody kind of staggers off to their sleeping pallets and falls asleep. And actually, yeah. And then Osmo rouses himself and staggers to the door and sort of stumbles outside and makes his way toward the tree while Taimi and Muirin are hiding in the shadows. There's no way he's going to notice either one of you guys. We've got a hunter who sneaks through the woods on regularly and an elf who's sort of stealthy by nature, an elf thief. He makes his way over to the tree where he usually does his business. And do you get him before or after? He releases.
After?
You let the old man have his.
Yeah.
He keeps his dignity, so he does his business. He just hikes up his robe, and then he turns around and leans up against the tree, and sort of wobbles a little bit, catching his balance. And there's your opportunity. So you're going to knock him down and try to quickly figure out where it is, and then try to get it off of him, right?
Right.
So let's make a saving throw with dexterity.
Okay.
And you're like wearing a cloak. Your whole goal here, it's nighttime. You can see in the dark. He can't so well. Taimi is nearby. The idea is that you don't want him to know who you are. You're a kind of unknown assailant who's trying to relieve him of his jewelry.
All right.
Go for it.
Ooh. 11.
Okay. So he's leaning up against the tree. You kind of just give me a little internal thought of Muirin as Muirin's about to do this. Does Muirin have any sympathy for the old guy? What's Muirin thinking before she knocks this 60-year-old man to the ground?
Oh. Muirin feels she feels a little more negatively towards Osmo just for stealing it in the first place and being so difficult to catch. She cares more about Paipiki's well-being and is willing to ruffle this guy a little bit, and hopefully maybe he's too out of it to really even understand the seriousness of what he stole. Hoping. Yeah.
Okay. So pragmatic approach.
Yeah.
So you hit him. He goes down. You quickly, both hands, you grab his wrists, and in his left wrist, you feel it underneath his wrist, and you feel the cold through it. You reach over with your right hand, you yank the sleeve back, and there it is, attached to his arm. You can see, your sight at night is it's sort of monochromatic, right? You don't get the full spectrum, but the bracelet around his wrist, it looks like the color in his skin has leached out in the area immediately next to the bracelet, and it appears to have kind of you go to grab the edge of it and haul it off, and you feel this really, really cold, and you feel that it kind of it's like stuck. It's like right up against his skin, and you tug it enough to realize that if you're gonna pull it off, it's adhered somehow to his skin, and you're gonna actually rip his flesh if you're gonna pull the bracelet off. So you can do that. I'm just letting you know that that's what'll happen. There's just a moment where you're yanking and you feel the resistance, and you look down and you see the skin pulling, and you realize that if you continue, so there's just this moment where you could make a different choice, or you could follow through.
I'm gonna whisper sorry and make sure his mouth is covered and pull it off.
So you have one hand on his mouth?
Yeah, just so he doesn't scream.
Okay, so then you got one foot on his wrist, one hand on his mouth, and with your other hand, you say, sorry. With the other hand, you, and in fact does rip off, leaving, you basically have torn off the top couple layers of skin, so it's a bloody injury there. And you yank the thing off, and you're holding it in your hand, and he's, so you got it. What now?
Disappear to our agreed upon place.
Okay, you're gone. Murder! Murder! My arm!
So at that point, I jump out of bed and go running towards the door. And are you still holding the door, Tiny?
I thought I was in the bushes with Muirin. But so no, I'm not.
To block
Okay.
it, you could have you could have driven a wedge, underneath the edge of it, or propped a piece of wood up against it at an angle.
Yeah.
Which of those would you choose?
Wedge probably.
Okay.
Wedge is within my wheelhouse.
So Paviki tries the door and it's blocked.
All right, so I just start banging on the door, trying to push it open.
Sinika's awake and she's like, "What's happening? What's happening?"
And I shout, "Osmo, what's going on? Osmo!"
Ah! He's just screaming, "Curses!"
Swear words.
So I try to dislodge the wedge, try to be as forceful as I can.
Yep. And so you pop the door open and you and Sinika run out there, and he's still lying on the ground by the tree, grabbing his bloody forearm.
What's going on? What happened?
What did he say? A bandit came out of the dark and took something from me.
And I just grab him and kind of hustle him back inside, looking around nervously, and lock the door.
Sinika says, "Which way did he go? Which way did he go?" "Oh, I don't know. He disappeared into the dark." She grabs a hatchet and she runs inside and grabs a torch and sticks it in the fire pit to light a torch, and then heads outside with her hatchet. And you guys, Taimi and Muirin, you guys are you're gone, so you don't have to worry about that. You've disappeared. But she's going out to look for the offender. And yeah, you've got him. So it's just Paviki and Osmo in the house now. He's gripping his bleeding arm, and you got him sitting on a stool or a bench or whatever.
I'm looking down at his arm like, what the fuck happened? And I go and tear up some scraps of cloth to try to wrap his arm up.
Okay.
Let me help you.
Great. So you're attending to his injury. Sinika, after a little while comes back in and says, "No sign of them. Whoever did it disappeared entirely. What did they look like?" And Osmo has nothing. You can't. "I saw nothing. I was knocked to the ground and they tore it off of me." "What's it? What did they have?" "Oh, a keepsake my wife left me."
Was it just one or more bandits?
I It may as well have been an army. I don't know. Ah,
Tomorrow we go to the lawgiver and we tell him all about this. If there's
Yes.
bandits in town, those law keepers need to do their job.
yes, I suppose. So you got him all bandaged up and cared for, and yeah, I think eventually he'll be able to. Well, let me think. He's in a lot of pain. He'll have an uncomfortable night, but he drank a lot, so he'll probably fall asleep. You probably give him another cupful, right, to deal with the pain. Okay, so if nothing else happens that night, then it is the next morning or the next day.
And I check on him to see how he's doing.
You check the, you've dealt with minor injuries before in your line of work, and it looks like a surface. It's not like a deep thing. It tore off. It's pretty nasty. It bled quite a lot, but you're tending to it, stop the bleeding, and it'll be a while until it properly heals. But with Tinny looking after him, he'll be fine. Can't really use his left hand, and it's super, can't really even touch it against anything. So you rig up a sling for him, and he's complaining constantly.
Yeah. And then I say, well, on second thought, do we want to have those law keepers coming around here?
You say that to him?
Yeah, I'm talking to Osmo. It's up to you. What would you do?
Well, if there are bandits, yes. What good are they for if they can't help us deal with that?
You're right.
Are you gonna go after the bandits? Normally it would be Yarko, but Yarko's useless now.
Yeah, you're right. Let's go.
So you march up the hill?
Yeah. I don't want to take up the whole session with just this kind of back and forth. I wonder also if there's anything else that like Taini or Maureen wants to do during this time when we're not going on an adventure.
Yeah, well, I think this sort of incident is just about resolved, right? You're going to report it.
Yeah.
Then you guys can decide. The downtime moves, each one of them is a week long, so you can decide what you do during downtime. And so you report this, and this is the word giver's job, is to hear complaints from the populace and decide what to do. So the complaint is heard. You have an audience with him. I think he's just sort of like, he actually seems a little concerned because the idea that there could be bandits around is concerning to him. So he calls in the word keepers and tells them that they need to have a night patrol. That two of them one, that they'll do it in shifts, and they'll have so you're totally privy to this conversation. They're going to do it in shifts, and they will have by torchlight, and they will make a circuit of the perimeter of the village, basically all night long in 2-hour shifts. And but they're not going to go as far. Taimi's hut is right at the edge of the wood. They're only going to go as far as the base of the hill, right? Basically, the carpenter's house is kind of outermost part of the perimeter. So that's the plan that they make.
Moirin's house.
Yeah, Morin's house is outside of the patrol zone. We're the outside look. So the word giver gives the word, as he is supposed to do, and the word keepers must keep the word. So that's the plan.
All right. That'll tire him out.
Give him something to do. Yeah, so you guys have recovered the bracelet. Osmo's going to have some permanent scarring. And you can figure out how you want to pass time. Unless there's any other small business that anybody wanted to take care of. So when you pass time, you pay 1 week's cost of living. In this case, you all live here, so your cost of living is 0. So nice thing about having a hometown. And then a volunteer from the group will roll plus peace of the village, and the peace modifier of the village is +1. And then we see what happens after that. So, but before we do that, well, actually, no, we should do that first. So let's have Taimi roll this. So
Okay.
2d6 plus 1.
6.
A settlement event occurs 1d6 days into the week. So you'll probably still be able to do your downtime moves, but there's an event occurs. And to determine the event, will each of you roll a d12, please?
Six.
And we're going to start with John, and then Donna, and then Jan. John, what'd you get?
11.
Okay, and then Donna,
9.
and you got a 6, Jan?
Yep.
Ooh. Okay, so a fight breaks out. And it's between Tapias and one of the word keepers.
Not Topias.
Yes, impetuous youth. And so one of the word keepers is actually out of their uniform and armor, and they're at the boarding house is also kind of a public house. So Tiny is there, and Tapias is there, and the word keeper, comes in to have like food and drink, and is made very unwelcome, not with words, but just with attitude. And Taimi and Topias, just as soon as they walk in, Topias is just like, everybody else is just kind of submissive, but Topias is like, these guys. And the word keeper kind of, what are you looking at, boy? That kind of thing. And then it escalates to the point where Topias makes a move to go at this person, but Taimi is present and has the option to respond.
Oh gosh. I don't stop him.
You don't stop him. Okay.
I don't stop him. I let him get one hit in.
So let's see how this goes. Roll 2d6. This is not really his.
What's his strength?
area. Well, the way NPCs work is they have a quality rating that kind of sums up, but it only applies to areas in which you consider things that they are good at. Tapias hasn't been around long enough to like really get in fights with people. Like he's not like a fighter in town, so he gets no modifier for this roll, just 2d6.
6.
Oh. He goes at the person. The person knocks his arm aside, punches him hard in the face. He falls on his, like so hard that he like pops backward a couple feet, lands right on his ass, and falls over backwards, completely unconscious. bloody nose. I mean, his nose is like clearly broken.
Yeah.
It was just one solid punch right to the face, and he's he's not unconscious. He's just totally dazed and stunned, and then kind of thinks twice about his actions and kind of crawls back to the wall and then stands up, looking at his hand. And everybody in the room is like not saying anything, just kind of like stunned. And the word keeper, calls for their grog, and Topias kind of like makes his way, stumbles towards the door, and then runs out.
He was just a child. You could have batted his hand away, pushed him to the floor. You could have killed him.
Yes, I could have killed him. Children need to learn lessons.
What's that lesson? That they should be afraid?
The lesson is that the word will be kept, and none will get in its way. Do you need a lesson?
I don't know. Some people say I'm pretty dull.
Well, if you're stupid, I can't help you with that.
Oh boy, howdy. Oh boy, yeah, thank you. I growl and I'll make you eat those words. That like yeah. Ooh, that's good. You'll be chewing on those words one day.
And then do you stay in the room?
No, I go after Topias.
Okay.
But we got to come up with like some good derogatory term for word keepers. What can I call them?
Book lovers?
What?
Book lovers, just because of your history with books.
Yeah, I don't know. Are they like, what's the difference of like a word keeper? Like something about their like fat lips or whatever. Like they've got just, their tongues are so gross. Gross tongues.
There's probably a great Finnish word for gross tongue. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I bite my thumb at him and I peace out.
Okay. Great. All right. So let's figure out your downtime moves for the week. You can craft something, you can recover, you can research something, you can train, or you can work a job or some other activity that you have in mind. What does Muirin want to do?
I'd like to read some of those books.
Yeah, which one?
The Common Journal.
Oh, the journal.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have to roll for that. You can just read that, and I'll tell you what you learn.
Yes.
Okay. So, our friend the Pico referred to this guy as the White One. So you can call him whatever you want. His name is not on the journal itself, but you do gather that this journal belonged to the sorcerer.
Cool.
And so you learn that he refers a lot to something called the voice below. And you gather that some kind of entity with which he was in communication of some kind. He's really resentful of his uncle Shevlik. I should say he was really resentful of his uncle Shevlik. And he talks about how Shevlik not only is in possession of the Orb of Mists, but the White One thinks that Shevlik has figured out how to locate gaps between the worlds, breaks between the worlds. And this summoning that he was undertaking, the goal you were able to determine was that he was going to employ the services of this creature, this demon or whatever he was trying to bring up, to help him go after his uncle. He refers to some previous plan to go after his uncle that didn't work out. So then he had to resort to this demon summoning. Once there's an entry that says once he's finished filling this, he has enough silver to fill the whole circle, and once he's done, the ritual will be ready to go. And he's glad that he purchased in, he doesn't say where, but he bought some magical oil that he's planning to put on, it's an oil that you use to oil a blade. And this was a precaution he was taking in order to protect himself from the demon.
Interesting.
He also mentions that Isilmat was easy to enchant, and is supplying him with all the necessary things he needs to survive in these barren highlands. And he refers to Onychus as a sniveling rat is what he calls Onychus. Oh, and sorry, and he also mentions how Durbin, he could not have been more fortunate in his abduction of Durbin because of Durbin's skill at building cages. And if you have any more follow-up questions on any of that, then I'm happy to answer them. But that's the general information that's in there.
Sorry, did you say the name of that demon that he was summoning?
I do have the name written down somewhere. Oh, you're able. When he writes the name, he writes it in Venati runes, and you know enough to parse it out phonetically as Kele Asaisa is the name of the demon.
Okay. And then, can you repeat again what needed? Like, so he was almost done with the ritual, and if it was it the filling of that.
Yeah, the ritual required the components were that circle be that the circle be carved, which apparently he did over time. Must have taken a while, and then it be filled with molten silver, and then there is he was in possession of a scroll that could be used to actually would cast a spell that would summon the demon. What's Paiviki up to that week?
I think she wants to study something too. I was a little bit unsure which books were written in what. I guess some were written in a common tongue.
Yeah, the ones in the common tongue are Rockworms of the Corcane Highlands, Phantoms and Warriors, The Fall of Vanat, Songs of Darkness, and The Five Apertures of Understanding.
Okay. And then there were 4 more, and
That's right.
One was in Venati.
Yeah, The Island of Understanding is in Venati. And then the 3 other ones, you don't even know what they're called because you can't. Like Muirin was able to figure out that the Island of Understanding was the title of this Venati book. The other 3 are all written in the same language, but it's completely indecipherable to you.
Yeah.
Not that you couldn't eventually somehow decipher it with the right. Knowledge, but right now it's like gobbledygook.
Was there some book that involved learning Venati or learning that language?
Oh, right. There was also those 2 books that Muirin got out of the workshop. One of them was about. Did you guys write those down? One of them was about ancient Venati runes. Yeah. So apparently, studying that, the idea was that just studying that book, you could actually learn ancient Venati.
Yeah.
So, just to be clear, the Island of Understanding is written in modern Venati?
Yes.
And the other 3 books, in theory, might be ancient Venati.
They're different enough where Muirin knows that they're not.
And not ancient Venati.
That's right.
Oh.
But between Muirin's knowledge and the book of ancient Venati, you could probably figure out this Venati book that you have.
Okay. Well, let's see. So there's the Fall of Vanat,
yeah,
and there's the Island of Understanding. I would check in with what the Island of Understanding is about with Durbin and try to understand if he's interested at all in helping me.
Oh, right. Well, he doesn't speak your language at all.
Right.
But he can definitely read that book.
Doesn't Teeny?
Tinny, did we establish that?
I thought you said she spoke Venati.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense that she would. Yeah. So with Tinny and him, you could figure out the content of that book.
Yeah.
Great. So you're going to research that. And actually, I guess it's probably Tinny who's going to, you're going to roll on behalf of Tinny for this because she's working with him and translating. Her quality, and this is totally in her area of expertise, her quality is +2. So you're going to roll 2d6 +2.
I rolled an 8.
Okay.
So 10.
So I tell you something useful, and you choose one from the list below. Your queries draw unwanted attention. You also learn an unwelcome truth. What you find is but a crumb in a longer trail, and I will tell you how to go about learning more.
Ooh, that's on a 10.
That's you on a 10. You get to learn whatever you want to know within the limitations of your approach and resources.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got an 8 +2.
Oh, sorry, totally missed that.
Yeah.
Okay. You get whatever you want to know within the limitations of your approach and local resources. So the basic outline of this book is Durbin is very familiar with it. He, not the book itself, but the fact that it exists. It's a known text amongst his people. The Island of Understanding is a kind of it's both a metaphorical place and believed to be an actual physical place. Like it's a mythological, sorry, I shouldn't say mythological. Venati believe that it's a real place that can be actually reached on this plane of existence. But the text itself is all about the metaphor of the island of understanding and how getting there, what it takes to get there. There's no actual map to the island, and all the descriptions of where it might actually be are in this kind of metaphorical language. So understanding the content of this book gives you some sense of the Venati religion and culture and the kind of value that they place on understanding, not just comprehending concepts about the world, but understanding other people. So Paiviki gets a little philosophical lesson at the knee of Tinny there, and I think this all happens under the old tree, right, during the day.
Okay.
So in any way that book might be useful in the future, if you have it with you, you can refer to it, you can consult it.
Okay. And can I show, what did we do with that shell? Did we end up taking that shell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I show that shell to Durbin and ask him if this relates to Salt Wall and if the Island of Understanding is somehow related, or if he thinks that the sorcerer maybe was looking for it? If he was searching for it, or if it's not related at all in Durbin's mind.
Durbin knows this bay very well, and it's not that he says through Tinny, he says that to go by boat to this furthest island in the bay only takes half a day. And the island of the understanding is out beyond the furthest horizon. Like there are kind of long distance voyage sailing ships that come and go from Saltwall, and it's in that world where they travel that that the Island of Understanding might exist, but it's definitely nowhere in the bay itself. All of these islands in the bay are they're the Barrow Islands of Saltwall, which is where respected, honored ancestors are buried on these. He describes them as small rocky islands, so that when they're up, he describes Saltwall as being, he kind of fondly is reminiscing about his town and how he hopes to return there one day, and how from the top of the cliff, where some of the town is perched, looking down upon these islands every morning is how people remember their ancestors.
Well, I guess Paiviki would just try to pick up whatever basic Venati she can, so that assuming they do go on that journey, she'll be able to communicate in a basic way with Durbin. Okay.
Yeah, I think probably after this week of study, really, basic words you can share. I mean, Paiviki's pretty bright, right? 16?
Yeah.
Great. How's time you spending the week?
I would like to try my hand, if you think I have the skill for it, crafting those covers from the animated books into some sort of armor accoutrement. I know that between the 3 books, I don't have enough to make a suit. But I wonder if I have enough to make the game mechanics equivalent of a buckler.
Sure.
In the form of either like, what are the ones you have on your legs, like the bracers and
band braces, or greaves.
Greaves, thank you. Yeah, either in the form of bracers or greaves.
Sweet.
Or as like shoulder, like kind of those tiered shoulder plates you see on like samurai armor.
Yeah, awesome. How many books did you get?
3 books. I don't know the size, so I don't know which one is more I mean, Taimi's not a huge person, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know which one would be more realistic to be able to make out of the material I have.
Yeah, and your roll will also help determine that. I think best case you'd get 3 separate small pieces out of that, right? Out of those 3 books, like making the absolute most economical use of the material. And the books are, the covers are either wood, bound in leather, or some kind of stiff thing. So I think that's an awesome idea. First, convince the judge you have the skills to do so. Well, you're a hunter who often skins animals and tans their hides and whatnot, and you have to fend for yourself a lot in the woods, so I'll buy it. Gather the necessary supplies, which you have, and set the progress total. Okay, so you're making the equivalent of a buckler. So in the marketplace, do you have the marketplace handy, John?
Yeah, I do. It's 15 silver pieces.
15, okay, great. So
Or
your progress,
15 pieces in this case.
okay, so you have 3 uses of supplies, which are the 3 books, and you're going to roll strength if it requires brute strength, dex if it requires a delicate touch, intelligence if it requires intense focus.
Oh no!
You're like doing a little bit and then spending the rest of the day doing something else. Wisdom if it requires good intuition. So dex is totally the right move here.
Okay. All right, I have a very good dex score, so this should go well. I'll take a 9. I'll take a 9. I like a good drawback.
Okay. All right. Well, in this case, it's just taking a while. So at the end of that first week, you fashion. I don't know what you want to be first, the shoulder thing, or basically you can do a shoulder thing in both greaves if all goes well. But you'll get 1 piece done this week.
Yeah, I'll have the shoulder piece done this week.
Okay, great. So you got that. So your progress total, you have to get a total of 2 progress to complete the job, and you just got 1 progress. So another week's work will probably finish that job.
Okay.
All right, that week passes. Do you guys want to pass another week in town?
Well, what do y'all want to do? I'm ready to go to Salt Wall, or we can spend more time working on armor and studying books. That's fine too.
Maybe we should stay so that Taimi can finish the armor.
You can always accomplish that on the road.
Like work at it at camp in your spare time.
Or like whenever we take the next week off or take the next down.
Yeah.
While we're at it, it might be a while before we have a lot of downtime. Why don't we spend another week reading and
chilling? Did Paiviki heal up? Isn't Paiviki hurt?
Well, no, she got healed by Kosti.
Oh, okay.
And then she rolled a 7 for her new hit points, so I don't know how that relates to her old hit points anyway. Assuming pretend she did have 1, and then she levels up, what happens?
What was her total hit points before? What was her maximum hit points before?
Her max was 3.
And Kosti healed her.
Her max was 3, and she was down to 1. She got healed back, all of them.
Oh, well then, she definitely gets the full 7. But let's, for instance, say that she was just healed back to 2. So she would be down 1, and so she'd still be down 1. So if you did 7, then she'd have 6, but max 7.
Got it. So she's fine.
Okay. Okay, so another week. Donna, why don't you roll for this week? That's 2d6 plus 1 to see if anything happens during the week.
Right.
12.
Okay, nothing unusual occurs, and you each get a downtime move, starting with Taimi at the top.
I'll just finish off that armor. Hopefully. Yes, I do it.
Great, awesome. So is that 2 greaves on the shoulder?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, great. Yeah, so anytime that we get into a combat situation, it's not like you say like, I throw my shoulder into it or whatever, but as we're describing the situation, you or I might point out that, you know, the direction from which the person's attacking or whatever, like that armor might come into play.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then Weirin?
So you can train, craft, or what was it?
You can recover. Nobody needs to recover. You can craft, research, train, or work a job to try to earn some money. Or anything else you can think of. Really.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking because I don't have any tools for, say,
like thiefy stuff.
Yeah, like lock picking, or trying to think of what else might be necessarily. Like, I don't necessarily need to craft those things. Could I just or maybe I do have to craft them because they don't sell that stuff.
Well, you can certainly check the market. There is actually a move. It's not a week-long move. It's just there's a move called acquire.
Okay.
When you go look for something specific and uncommon, so you can just inquire around the market, and then you would roll some dice to see how that goes.
Okay. And that can be done at any time, really,
Right, you don't need to take a whole week to do it, but I mean, might as well do it now if you're curious.
Okay. So I was thinking of doing that, and I guess if I research, could I research any interesting potions, or
how to make something?
Yeah, how to make stuff like poisons out of, I don't know, mushrooms or whatever is around.
Yeah, could she actually craft some poison?
Well, poison is your area of expertise, so that must come from something in your background. So you could try to craft. We've established so far
so that would be a craft thing.
Yeah,
okay.
If you wanted to actually make it.
Okay.
And then, for instance, if you made a roll, there could be a situation where if you wanted a certain kind of poison, it's not available locally, and then you might have to research where you could find it, like as an example. But you could certainly try to craft poison. Sure.
Gotcha. Well, maybe I'll just make more of that.
The same stuff.
That same stuff.
Oh, Maxie.
He whines. Get in
there. Okay. If you want to check the market first for that stuff you were curious about.
Yeah. Just sharp, small tools.
Like fine tools of some kind for whatever purpose, but not specifically lockpicks, but things that could be potentially used for lockpicks.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, so you're going to roll, because of the size of the village, you're going to roll 2d6 and you're going to subtract 2 because it's harder to find stuff in a village.
Right. 8.
Yeah, so everybody at the market is just kind of shaking their heads. And they say that you have to go to for stuff like that. You have to go to Hukunut, or you could make a special request from one of the traveling peddlers, and they could try to find it for you next time they're in Hukunut.
Oh.
and bring it back for you.
Sure.
So you want to ask them to do that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. But you're not specifically asking for lockpicks, right? It's like jeweler's tools or some other kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. All right, and then you want to craft some poison. And there's my marketplace. Couldn't find it. That's the problem with this not being printed in a book yet. It's just all printouts all over my desktop here. Okay, so we got a concoction that we're going to make. The effect is now, if I recall correctly, this stuff will put you to sleep if it doesn't kill you, right?
Yes, depending on your size or amount.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's fatal, but it's slow acting, right?
Yes.
Okay, so one dose has a value of 40 silver pieces. So using the crafting calculus here, so a quarter of that is 10. And this is all supplies you can harvest locally, right? We decided, because that's how you guys made it before.
Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
And then item cost is 4. Okay, so 4 progress. You have to get 4 progress to make 1 dose.
Okay.
So that's going to be at least 2 weeks of work.
Gotcha.
There's like time it's got to cure and all that. So go ahead and roll. You could do Dex, Intelligence, or Wisdom. All 3 of those could apply, I would say, for mixing this poison.
I'll use my wisdom.
Okay.
Okay, 6.
Oh,
Yikes.
I think it says I get to make a move here. Look at my move list.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's it is a deadly poison you're working with. I'm not going to make you accidentally ingest or anything like that. I think I'm just going to say that this first attempt at the batch just basically ruins all the supplies. You get the mix wrong, and all the supplies are gone. So you're basically at 0.
Yikes.
You'd have to spend another week to start from scratch.
And
Oh well. And no experience for that roll, right?
Mark the ability used. So you do mark wisdom.
Okay, wisdom.
Sorry, I should have said that before.
Oof.
Okay, so 2 weeks have gone by. Okay. You guys ready to head out?
Can I do a move?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Yes.
I think I just want to study the fall of Vanat.
Okay.
Just read that. I don't know if I can read more than one book, but I would start with that one.
I think that book's going to take you, time to read.
Okay.
So intelligence.
I'm rolling for this.
Yes, this
Okay.
is you reading the book because it's in the common tongue, and Paviki is
Okay. 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 So I rolled a 5 plus 2, so I got a 7.
Ah, whew. Something useful. And you choose one from, I'll tell you something useful, and you choose whether your queries draw unwanted attention, which in this case I would say somebody in the village takes note of the fact that you're deep in this book. You also learn an unwelcome truth in addition to whatever is in the book. And or what you find is but a crumb in a longer trail, and I would tell you how to go about learning more. The useful thing I'll tell you is that this book is, perhaps it's because of the Baroque language that's used. There's a lot of big words and weird sentence constructions that Paiviki maybe has a hard time deciphering. But it tells about the original kingdom of Vanat, which was over the sea, and how it fell into the water. It sank essentially, and all of the Venati fled, were scattered to the seas, and those who survived, washed up in the four corners of the known world, where they were scattered, and were basically, flotsam refugees. So that's about all of Paiviki's able to gather out of that. It's some kind of very detailed retelling of the fall of the original Venati culture.
Okay. I guess, so if I take one of the first two responses, do I learn more? Or
Well, the unwanted attention would be,
yeah.
No, you won't learn more. I've told you all you're going to learn, although you will learn an unwelcome truth if you choose the second one, which is
Right.
either something about the book or some other unwelcome thing unrelated to the book.
Yeah. I think my queries draw unwanted attention.
Okay. What are you reading there? Says a word keeper. I don't know. Where are you actually reading?
I guess I'll be sitting under the tree again, trying to catch some more Venati from Durban.
Okay.
And I'd say to the word keeper, I'm trying to learn about the Venati. This man here, my friend Durban, doesn't speak the common tongue. And I am trying to understand his language, and he's trying to understand mine. Like this, Durban, Paiviki. And then I hold it up and I'm like, book. And I ask for Durban to respond, book.
To speak in common?
Yeah.
So he's very, you've noticed that he's very, he gets a little nervous around maybe this is the first time you've seen him in the proximity of a word keeper, but he's definitely kind of nervous, and he looks kind of like anxiously up at the word keeper, and he looks at you, and then he says, book.
Yeah. And I kind of like clap him on the back, and I'm like, see, he's making progress.
Why would you teach one of the little people?
Well, we found him as a poor stray in the cave down south, and I've taken pity on him.
They are a pitiful bunch.
But this is a good one. this one is a good one. The more I talk to him, he may not look like it is, but he's really a good guy.
I'm not one to judge you hayseeds. And then he kind of what is that? What is the book?
This book here. This one it's a fantastic story, and it's all about how these little people used to live in a great kingdom across the ocean. And it's really good reading. You should try it.
Are you trying? What's your goal here with this person?
Just to mess with him. I mean, I think that just to make him sound like, just to give him the impression that I'm completely happy to talk to him about whatever he wants to know, and I have nothing to hide.
Okay. All right. So you want him to leave you alone because you're being as open as possible. Like
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Roll charisma.
I rolled a 10 and I get +2.
Okay. You managed to get a chuckle out of him, and he just kind of like shakes his head and continues on his way.
And as he's leaving, I read a loud passage to him in the most sort of like obtuse Baroque accent that I can do.
Okay, great.
And the Venati kingdom did fall. This is good stuff.
Great. All right. That's that. And we still got time for you to set off overland if that's what you want to do. If that's what's next.
Yeah. Taimi is ready to leave. You know, I hesitated, or I think that she felt some pause at some point, thinking that we were leaving the villagers in the wolf's den. But as of right now, they don't seem to be doing anything but patrolling. I think that might change in the future. And frankly, I think our continued activities might only make it worse. The more we tried to hide things, the more we tried to lie. You know, we've stolen from people. I have no qualms with them, but I think that, you know, our actions have now converted their presence from passive to active. And so with all of the stuff that we've hidden from them, I just think it better that we not put the rest of the villagers at risk. As we are now, I don't think that we have the strength or power to resist them. You know, I think that we could maybe sneakily get the jump on them and get one of them. Maybe if the whole village participated, we could get all three of them without there being much bloodshed on our part. But it wouldn't end for them, and we would just get in more trouble.
No.
But maybe the land that Durban is from is free from the influence of the High Court. Maybe we can make friends that could help us.
Yeah.
Was that Tess?
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's funny. That's great. Okay. Is there any outfitting that you guys want to do before you head out? You can basically take as much food as you can carry because this is your town and people are willing to supply you. The reason why it's totally okay for you to leave, well, Miran is free to come and go, but Paiviki and Taimi are kind of important parts of the village's life. There is enough there's everything. There's no struggle happening right now. So the absence of a hunter and a carpenter is not going to be a hardship. And on top of that, Tinney is very encouraging for you to return Durbin to his people. So it's all good. And
Yeah.
How much food is the maximum?
So you have your carrying capacity, and let's see, 7 uses of rations. So a week's worth of rations weighs 1. So taking into account your other gear you're taking with you, you can take as much food as you can carry if you want. You know, there's a little cooking party. It's all got to be stuff that's trail ready. So Tinney, has a little gathering where people make barley cakes and dried goat meat and stuff like that in order to provision you for the trip.
Mm-hmm. I guess what's Yarko's carrying capacity? Because we should bring torches. Because I know that, or not Yarko, sorry, Durbin. Because I know that we are not going to have torches. At least Taimi doesn't have any torches. How about you two? Rope, that's another good one.
I had candles on my last.
Durbin can carry 10 easily, 10 weight.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, he's a hardy fellow.
Big boy. Yeah, I would suggest, let me take a look at the marketplace list. Definitely, I think rope would be a good adventuring gear.
I should also say that Topias and Annika would want to come with you. So when people learn that this is what's happening and they're gathering around the tree and stuff like that, both Topias and Annika express the desire to accompany you on this journey.
What's Taimi's professional opinion of Annika's skill set?
Annika to be a very she's very bold. You might even, you don't know because you've never seen it tested, but she might be almost fearless. Like she's sort of unafraid of doing challenging things.
Mm-hmm.
She is prone to eating and drinking too much. She enjoys games of chance.
Jason?
Yeah.
He's frozen.
What?
That's another good one. Let me screenshot that.
What happened?
Oh, there you are.
You were frozen.
Yeah, you froze. Sorry.
Oh, that's weird. You guys are fine, but I did get a little message that my internet connection was unstable, but I don't know what's up with that. Did you hear any of that about Annika?
She's bold. She likes to eat and drink. She might even be called fearless. And then that's it.
Yeah. She is clumsy like her sister. Enjoys games of chance. Yeah, and she's a hardy Rayunin. You don't have any doubt that she could handle herself on the trail. If things got dicey, she could be an extra body for carrying stuff. She could be a helpful extra pair of hands, and she would probably do okay in a fight, but she's never actually gotten in a serious fight.
Yeah, I wouldn't stop either of them from coming.
Does anyone else object to them?
I'm okay with them coming. I'm a little bit nervous they're going to get hurt, but it's their choice. Time to leave the village.
It's time to set out.
Would we is there a way to establish any silver to like purchase this stuff, the gear?
Or are they just giving it to us?
It all depends on the gear. Like anything that they could feasibly give you, like Paiviki could take 2 hatchets, no problem. Wait, you guys, am I freezing up again?
Yeah.
What's going on with my connection? You can take anything that the village would reasonably be able to provide you. So if you had any specialty items, something like adventuring gear is a little bit of a specialty item. And at this point, you have the 10 obsidian chips each, plus anything you might want to barter with.
Yeah. I remember I mentioned this idea about changing the number of uses for adventuring gear. And you were like, yeah, I think that might be good, but I don't know if you want to institute that or not.
I might have already done it. Do you remember what your suggestion was?
Well, I'm just looking at the old one. I don't have any up-to-date printout. My suggestion was, I think, making it 3 uses and 1 weight and costing less, like 12 or something.
Oh, yeah, right. I think sure, let's just do that. That sounds good.
Okay.
I think that's reasonable.
Do you guys want to go in on some adventuring gear?
Yeah, how much is it?
It will cost 12.
Yeah, I'd throw 4 in for that.
Should we each throw in 4?
Yeah, that's good.
Paiviki can lug it unless Taini wants to.
Well, actually, this leads to a question I had, Jason. For some reason, I have Taimi's carrying capacity at 5.
So,
and I copied that over from the old sheet where I believe it was just 4 plus our strength modifier.
Yeah, now because you're a fighter, it's 10 plus your strength modifier.
Wow. Okay, that's a class trait? Wow, okay.
If you look at the back of your fighter book in the capacity box, underneath the capacity box.
Yeah. No, I just noticed that. I think I was being very stingy with what I carried because I only had a capacity for 5. So now I can bring a whole lot of shit. Okay. Will someone give me, will I have to buy rope or can I just have rope? Will someone give me rope?
Let's see, rope is not super common. If you want, for that, I'll just have you, I'll have it, you're going to make an acquire roll, and if they have it, you can have it for free. Otherwise, You have to buy it at market.
Is there a stat on that?
It's a village, so you're rolling at -2.
Nope. Not going to get it. But I can pay for it, you said?
Yes.
Okay, I will pay for it.
And that is 3 silver.
Yeah.
For 50 feet.
I'm also going to grab an animal snare. If that's something I can get for free.
Totally. I mean, SIEs will make you custom ones.
Nice. Water skin.
Yep. Oh, Donna, you can roll luck to see if the peddler came back with tools, because it's a week's gone by since you made that inquiry.
Oh, awesome. Oh, man. 4
Awesome or not? Oh, 4.
is bad.
Yeah, I think that peddler's encountered some serious difficulties. Definitely nothing.
Can I get a knife to
Yes.
carry with me?
Yes.
Cool.
Go ahead, take one that weighs 0.
Yeah.
How about bandages or herbs and poultices or something like that? Seems handy.
I think that Tinny will supply each of you with herbs and poultices.
Great.
So each of you can write that in your own inventory.
Awesome.
What is poultices?
It's like generally it's you put ingredients in some kind of cloth bag of some kind, like a porous cloth, like a cheesecloth or burlap or something, and then you soak it in some kind of liquid like water or almost like a tea, and then you would put that on your body. Or I mean, there's probably other ways to do it too. That's my kind of primitive understanding of how poultices are. You know, it's like healing herbs that are put in a sort of wet bag, and then the liquid draws out the vital components, and then the and puts it into your injury or whatever. So you would hold it on your injured arm. There's probably other ways to use a poultice, but that's the only one that I know. Yeah.
The only other thing I was wondering about is Paiviki asks Tinny if she wants to send anything as an offering to the village elders of Saltwall.
Oh, what a great idea! Wow. Yeah. Yeah. She gives you a sapling from the motherwood.
Whoa.
With a root ball, wrapped up in burlap. All you have to do is keep it wet, and it'll totally survive the journey. It's a hardy tree. And she says, please with our please greet the Venati on our behalf and tell them that we hope to foster a peaceful relationship over the coming years.
All right. Thank you so much.
Always thinking, Paiviki. Always thinking.
I want to give that to
Durbin?
No.
Oh, to somebody to carry?
Yeah. What's that kid's name?
Topias.
Yeah.
So Paiviki says to Topias, this is really important. Will you take care of this and keep it wet?
He's like, you know it. Yes, ma'am, or whatever the equivalent of ma'am is. Yeah.
Do Topias and Anika have any kind of weapons or equipment?
I think Anika's sister will give her a hatchet to take with her.
Okay.
And Topias, you guys gave the spears back to the word giver, right?
No, we bargained for the spears with the topaz.
Okay, and how many spears? You kept 2 spears, one for you and one from Weirin?
Yeah.
Okay. Topias has a knife.
All right.
And if there's any other gear, I mean, we are now getting close to the closing time, so we should just wrap up. But if there's any other gear, that you need, just go ahead, and if there's anything you have a question about, we can sort that out. But otherwise, if the village have it to offer you, they will give it to you.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
If we wanted to bring some books with us to read along the way,
Yeah.
How much do books weigh?
Generally speaking, a book weighs one because they're pretty bulky.
Okay.
I think, I think if you wanted to bring 3 of these books that you brought with you, that would weigh 2. So we'll just say, for the sake of argument here, that for every 3 books, they'll weigh 2.
Okay.
Just because there's bound to be some size variation.
All right, I'll bring along a couple of those then.
Good idea. I maybe we'll bring a book too for learning Venati.
The ancient one, the ancient Venati book, the runes.
Yeah, unless Paiviki's already carrying it.
No, you can
Are
take
you carrying
the You can take that one.
Okay.
I'm going to take the rockworms of the Corcayan Highlands in case we run into any.
Thank goodness.
Okay. Then, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Everybody's really still, and I was like, shit. Okay. Okay. So then, it's the dawn of. Gosh, this month is almost over. Looks like you guys just played through the whole first month. The green grasses are coming up. It's now basically not mid-spring, but the final snow melt, except for on the higher slopes and peaks, has melted away. And there's, sometimes a low fog hanging over the little river. And there's a morning when everybody gets up bright and early and the whole village turns out to wish you all well on your journey. There's some drum playing and that strange broom instrument jangled about. And the word giver and the word keepers, they're kind of watching from a distance. They don't come right down to where the festivities are happening, but they are definitely watching as you set out into the wild. Headed south.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we're going to wrap up. There may not be a lot of opportunity for XP because I get 3/4 of this session was spent trying to acquire a bracelet.
Rob accosted an old man.
Major heist went down.
Yeah.
If anybody fulfill their alignment goal? No.
I talked about disrupting the order of things, but we never did it. So
Once you do it, no order was disrupted. I mean, even a mugging is not really disrupting an order, alas. Donna, what was yours? You're
Right.
lawful, right?
Yeah, but it's not quite lawful either. The mugging.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I would say not. Fulfilling traits. Tiny.
I was irritable at the guard for punching Kikias.
Yes, totally. XP for you. Muirin.
I think so. I was ruthless.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, you tore off that bracelet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot that was your new trait. It was ruthless. Yeah, damn. This elf is getting complicated.
Oh.
And then Paiviki.
she was kind of selfish or covetous in terms of focusing on getting that bracelet back, but maybe not overly so.
trying to think if she was selfish. Covetous, I'm not sure, because
Yeah.
the whole goal with that bracelet was to. Well, what was the goal? To not
it was to get it, but it was also not to get busted.
right, to avoid drawing attention.
Yeah. She was bold-faced lying to a lot of people, but that's different than being bold, maybe.
I don't know. I would give
Yeah.
bold is one of your traits.
Yeah, it's the new trait is bold.
Yeah, I think you would. Yeah. I mean, the way you were talking to the lawkeeper about the book, you know, I feel like you weren't like getting in his face, but you were just like, let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
Okay, fighters. Did anybody solve a problem with physical force? No, right?
No.
But thief, if you solved a problem with stealth or trickery, like stealing somebody's bracelet,
Yes.
by sneaking up on them, you get an XP for that. And then, did you make an exciting discovery? You guys read some books and learned some things. Everybody gets XP.
Yeah.
Books can be good, Amy.
I
I mean, you can turn
don't even need to read them and I get them.
you can turn them into armor too. Did you overcome a difficult obstacle? I don't think you had to go after that bracelet. I mean, would you call that an obstacle? Would you call a drunk old man?
I wouldn't call it a difficult obstacle.
Yeah, right. It's just like a woozy obstacle. Nothing. Did you acquire some, or did you acquire or reacquire some memorable booty? I think it's memorable because you tore it off of his body, so you get XP for that. Yeah, the reacquisition of that bracelet totally counts.
Okay.
Just don't put it on.
Yeah.
I know, right? Do we really want that thing?
What's that?
I said, do we really want that thing? Maybe we should go bury it in a hole.
Yeah, we probably buried it.
Oh, I did leave out one detail about that thing. I forgot. So retroactively, when you moved on the dude and went to shove him, when you got several inches away from his body, that frosty flash went up. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like when you assaulted the sorcerer. It didn't actually stop Muirin from doing what she was doing, but there was a moment where it just went and then you pushed through it and knocked him down. So there was like some kind of magical effect there. And you felt you know, there was like a wave of cold passed over you when that happened, but otherwise it didn't affect what went down. Okay, and then, you know, if you wanted to, you could shift some traits around too, but I'll let you do that on your own if you want. We don't need to go through that right now.
What do you mean shift traits around?
Every time you wrap up, if you have that's right, because last time we just went from 0 to 1. But every time you wrap up, you can lose a trait, gain a trait, and possibly change alignment. So as your character evolves, you can decide, you know, what direction you want to push them in as they learn more about being good or bad. There's a little in the wrap up move. There's some steps you can go through if you want to do that. So you can check those out on your own time.
Cool.
I think we leveled up.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You're at level 2 now? Great, let's do that. Why not? Okay, level up. So the first thing you do is increase your level by 1.
Ding.
Okay.
Regain 1 point of burned luck.
Yay.
If your new level is even, and it is because you're level 2, you get to choose a new advanced move from your playbook.
Ooh.
Whoa.
And that's pretty much it.
We don't add hit points?
Not only on odd numbered levels do you get hit points.
Got it. Could I ask you some questions?
Yes.
I'm looking at second skin. When you wear armor, you have +1 armor and ignore the armor's awkward tag.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that that's referring to something more complete than my game equivalent of a buckler, right? That would be something like the scale armor or the leather armor.
Yeah. However, I think it might make sense that. I mean, yeah. I mean, just the title "second skin" does imply that it's something you'd be wearing over.
Yeah.
Do you
Then
have leather armor? Are you wearing leather armor, or are you just wearing your book stuff? Okay.
just wearing my book stuff. Could I take Shield Bearer and treat it as a shield? When you use shield to block damage, you may spend 1 metal to make the shield worth 1d6 armor in that instance.
For the book stuff?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Because
Okay.
it's like that to me depends on being able to wield the shield, right? Those things are attached to these parts of your body which you can't really wield.
Yeah.
Well, the cool thing about second skin is you could kind of justify saying that the somehow because she crafted it that it's worth 1 point of armor at this if she takes that skill.
Well, it is worth 1 point of armor already.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, but it's situational, right? It depends on
Right.
what she's up against. I mean, I could maybe buy that it would be worth an extra point of armor for the same, but it'd be less. So the title has less application. It's more about how Tiny crafted these books.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's enough material there. I can't wrap my head around it in fiction.
Okay, great.
I'll
Jason,
hold off on
can I check in?
Yeah.
It says in the level up move in the old rules that I'm looking at, it says if it's an even level, you gain hit points, but you don't get. If it's an odd level, you get an advanced move. Did you change it?
I think I must have, because when you got to level 1, you got your
And we don't. Yeah, we just got the playbook, which.
Right. Yeah. So we're sticking with this version here.
Okay. So we're getting a move?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, you're right. I wonder. Yeah, but this wasn't the newest version, the one I have here. We'll just see how it goes.
Yeah.
Donna, what are you going to do for your move?
I'm interested in the lucky dog. When you level up, you heal 1d6 luck. Because then I might start trying to be luckier.
Yeah, because then you can just you can burn luck more often if you do that. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, if I if I level up.
If you get that far, if you survive. All right. Well, you don't have to finalize your decisions now, but you do get.
Yeah,
So
it might change. So cool.
I think I would probably go with leader.
Oh. When you bark commands in the heat of battle, roll charisma. Yeah.
Which is funny because in the last campaign we were doing, I was thinking about taking leader also, but her charisma was 6.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. But just because I thought it'd be funny.
Yes, it would be very funny. That leader could be potentially very useful, as you guys, yeah. All right, cool. Well, yeah, so just if there's any marketplace stuff you want to deal with or finalize those, whatever your advanced move is going to be, just do that in your free time. And we'll set off across the Highlands when next we meet.
Awesome.
All right.
So cool.
Thanks, guys.
There you go.
Thank you.
There we go.
Good night.
All right. Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Right.